I'm going to be showing you how I made this Murphy bed for my guest room. I used a kit from a family-owned US-made company called Create a Bed, and note that it does come in vertical or horizontal choice. Of course, I chose the vertical here. And on mine, I chose to add on the dust accessory on the front. It simply pops open when I want to use it, but then it can lay flush when I'm wanting to deploy the bed. Let's jump into how I built it. First, let's look at my 3D model to give you a visual of what I'm about to do. I start by building this inner frame portion, which will hold the mattress. This needs to be made from solid 3/4 material, so I went to my scrap pile and first pulled a few boards to make these up. Some are cedar and others are treated pine, but it doesn't matter since it won't be seen, and I love whittling away at my scrap pile. After chopping things to length at the miter saw and cutting some things to width at the table saw, I spread things out on my workbench and started joining them together. I'm making a bunch of L's. I'm using regular wood glue on the joint, then using an 18 gauge brad nailer to pin it together, making sure it's flush on one side. Next, I used a pre-drill and screws to join these L's to the outside rails that will make up the frame. My bed will be a queen, so these are spaced for it, but know that Create a Bed does have plans and hardware for every size. They also have the mattress. After doing one side, I moved it over and repeated on the other. You can see I used some shop furniture to widen my working area. Okay, next we move on to plywood parts. Remember that I own a CNC shop, so I had the woodshed cut all of the plywood parts needed on this build. This saves so much time, guys, so I definitely recommend finding a shop local to you anytime you have a project with a lot of plywood parts. However, if you don't have one, then know that Create a Bed makes it very simple. Templates are included in the plans, which you can cut out with scissors, then set on your board and trace, then cut. Then of course, all of the hardware needed for the Murphy bed is included, and the instructions do a great job at walking you through how to put it all together. When it came time to add these parts to the inner frame, I moved it all down to the floor to work. A tip is to use a scrap to lift up your frame off the floor so that you can pre-drill in straight without the body of your drill hitting the floor. I first added the front, then the back. Then, when adding the left and right boards, I pre-drilled from the outside and ran in screws, making sure these ended up flush to the wood. Note that I did edge band any part that would have a visible edge in the end product. Since I'm using white oak as my material, I edge band with white oak as well. It is a very simple process of using a standard iron to heat the adhesive on the back of the banding and then pressing it on and trimming it flush. Now let's add these two big components together. One of the great things about a Murphy bed is you can be as creative as you'd like on the design. I chose to do a simple design for the face, and I laid both of these face down on my workbench, then heft the frame up on top. Or actually, I didn't heft it, I just walked it over. Leverage is my best friend when moving big things alone. There needs to be a slight reveal here on both sides, so I used a combo square to get it centered on my faces before attaching it all throughout. Note that I did assemble it now to make sure everything worked, but then I disassembled it so I can move it to my house. However, if you have two people to move it, you won't have to disassemble it. Before moving it to my house though, I do have a few more components to build. One is the sides that will end cap the frame. This component has 3 pieces of hardware that needs to be installed on it. The first piece requires a channel to be cut in, so I used a Forstner bit to eat most of the material away, then a router and a chisel to finish it off. The second is a male stud that will allow the inner frame to pivot open and close later on. The final is a stop that will let the mattress stop where it's supposed to when closing the Murphy bed. All of these are repeated to make a mirrored component, so each side has one. Okay, now let's move everything inside and start putting it together. It's pretty tight filming in this room, but let's go ahead and squeeze it in. I first set the frame down and then added some 1/4 inch plywood, which will support the mattress. Note, I should have added the face panels on first before I covered up my supports. So if you did disassemble when moving it, just be sure to attach them back first. 2 simple elastic bands are added to these panels, which will later capture the mattress. Next, the large sides are added by simply slipping the male hardware into the female end, then adding a locking ring. I used the end of a putty knife to pop this all the way down. To add the footboard, I made a few marks to give myself a visual on where it needed to be added. Then asked for a hand to hold it level while drilling some pre-drills and attaching it with screws. Now, this is the fun part. The sides can be stood up. It is easiest to have a second person on the other side lifting at the same time. It's now that connecting hardware can be added to make the frame talk to these sides. Depending on the mattress size you're going with will determine the starting setting on both of these pieces of hardware. I'm going with the queen size, so I used a wrench to adjust it to the correct setting. Right now, you're roughing it in, but later, once you get the mattress in, you'll fine tune it. It's worth noting that the adjustable ability on the hardware is what really sets CreateABed apart from the competitors. They have patented adjustability to where it just takes a few seconds, a few turns to fine tune it in for your exact mattress and cabinet setup. Whereas other competitor kits make you take apart the entire thing to make adjustments. Nobody has time for that. Sidebar, look how cute and very much in the way my puppy is. Now I need to close the frame in order to snap the other side into place. Again, it is helpful to have a second person on hand to help here. While holding it into place, I got into the back and made the connections. Again, just a simple pop into place. Note that you could very well throw it on the wall and attach it and start using it at this point. But another option is to add cabinets around it, which is the option I chose so that I could add more space to this small space. And before I moved my bed into place, I went ahead and built my cabinets. Again, I had my CNC shop cut all my parts, so I already had my adjustable shelf holes and all joinery cut in where all I had to do was run beads of glue in the rabbets and then pin things together. But again, if you don't have a shop near you or you're not interested in going that route, I do have a full video breaking down how to make very simple but strong and lasting cabinets if you're interested. After building the cabinets themselves, I built a small platform for them to sit on. Then I started stacking the cabinets up, attaching them with a few screws each. That's the left. Then that's the matching right. Now let's move this big monster in between and squeeze things together. I wanted to wait until I had all 3 major components together so that I can align it left and right on my wall. That is looking nice. Once I liked the position, I added a few screws to join the cabinets to the bed component itself. Okay, next, I attached everything to the wall. It's hard to see from this angle, but I'm using a stud finder to locate the studs and using 4-inch screws to anchor it. That feels really secure. Now, when I pull down the bed, it shouldn't budge at all. Now that I finally have the bed in its final place, next I grab the mattress to add. CreateABed does offer a range of mattresses you can bundle with your hardware kit. They are superb quality and comfort that are designed to perfectly fit your Murphy bed frame. At this point, we are down to the final details to wrap up this build. I added on trim to all of the faces, which always enhances a build's look immediately. For this, I add a bead of glue, then pop in a few 18-gauge nails to hold it while drying. Then CreateABed has a dust accessory that I thought was an awesome use of space. So I glued and nailed on some trim to another rectangular board, then added on their simple hardware to the underside. Next, I tried to add it to the bed myself, but wasn't successful. So I asked for a hand to add it to the Murphy. So this can be open when the bed is closed, but if the bed is needed, then 2 levers can be pushed to collapse it flush. I love it. I must say, a Murphy bed is a big thing, physically big. It's a large build and it also drastically changes an entire room. So I understand why people are intimidated by this. However, I encourage you not to be. It is very straightforward and you can absolutely do it. Create a Bed has been doing this for 40 years. They're family owned, US made, and they have it streamlined for you. On top of good instructions, they have a hotline you can call during your build if you run into questions or problems. If it is on your to-do list, and I highly encourage you to tackle it. And I hope that this video has given you some inspiration.